Washington is currently broadcasting the promise of an imminent historic peace deal in the Middle East. But looking at the physical evidence on the ground, this supposed diplomatic breakthrough looks entirely like a geopolitical trap triggering massive regional escalation. The US president has publicly insisted that Tehran is desperate for an agreement. He claims the administration is talking to the right people, and that Iran recently gave Washington a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money to secure a deal. Halfway across the world, the Iranian military issued a blunt counterstatement. A spokesperson for the Khatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters, which serves as the country's main military command center, explicitly denied any negotiations are taking place. They stated that the US is, quote, negotiating with itself, adding, "Someone like us will never come to terms with someone like you." This diplomatic contradiction creates an incredibly dangerous situation. If one side believes a peace deal is actively being finalized, while the other side denies those talks even exist, the United States and its allies in the Middle East are rapidly accelerating toward a blind ambush. The unconfirmed American 15-point peace plan demands the total dismantling of Iran's accumulated nuclear capabilities. It specifically targets the decommissioning of highly secure, deeply buried enrichment sites like Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordo, where Iran actively enriches uranium. In exchange for completely destroying these facilities, the proposal offers the total removal of all economic sanctions. The US would also provide active assistance in developing a civilian nuclear project in Bushehr for electricity production. The enforcement mechanisms for this deal are strict. They require absolute transparency and oversight by the IAEA, alongside the abandonment of regional proxy forces. The IAEA, or International Atomic Energy Agency, is the United Nations watchdog responsible for monitoring global nuclear activities. These conditions would effectively end the Iranian nuclear program and lift the sanctions that have isolated their economy for decades. But even these specific terms carry no weight if one side refuses to admit a negotiation is even happening. To understand why a diplomatic deal is highly unlikely, we have to look at the massive power vacuum inside Iran following the recent death of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. As supreme leader, Khamenei held the highest political and religious authority in the country. For decades, Khamenei maintained a vertical power structure. His absence caused that structure to collapse, allowing the IRGC to rapidly seize total control. The IRGC, or Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, is a parallel military institution that commands massive sectors of Iran's armed forces and economy. This new military brass has implemented brutal domestic measures to suppress dissent and maintain order. Currently, they are enforcing a government-imposed internet blackout that has already passed the 600-hour mark, severing citizens from international networks. Their ideology is public and uncompromising. The military commands insist that stability in the region is guaranteed entirely by the powerful hand of their armed forces, not by American ultimatums. Washington's diplomatic efforts appear to be aimed at a civilian political establishment that no longer holds real power. The actual military rulers holding the weapons have zero intention of signing what amounts to a surrender document. The optimism surrounding these peace talks completely ignores the physical reality on the ground. Israel and Iran are actively continuing to exchange heavy airstrikes. Recent IDF strikes targeted and severely damaged key military production infrastructure inside Tehran. The IDF, or Israel Defense Forces, is the national military of Israel. Their strikes specifically hit sites used to develop long-range naval cruise missiles capable of destroying targets at sea and on land. The conflict is also bleeding outward. State media reports concurrent deadly strikes hitting southern Lebanon, while in western Iraq, an airstrike on a base hosting regular army and paramilitary groups killed 7 fighters and injured 13 more. At the same time, drone attacks targeted a fuel tank at Kuwait International Airport, sparking a massive fire. This proves the economic infrastructure of the wider region remains under active threat. Burning infrastructure, expanding war zones, and daily casualties directly contradict the diplomatic optimism being broadcast from the White House. This chart shows a sudden, steep drop in Brent crude oil prices over a 24-hour period. Brent crude is a major trading classification of sweet light crude oil that serves as a leading global price benchmark. Traders reacted to the rumors of peace, sending the price plummeting by nearly 4.5% to under $100 a barrel. This market drop relies entirely on the fragile hope that a ceasefire will keep the Strait of Hormuz open to shipping. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow maritime choke point where a massive portion of the world's oil passes. But while the financial markets project optimism, the Pentagon is making quiet, physical preparations to deploy thousands of troops to the region. Reports indicate the military expects to send troops from the 82nd Airborne Division. The 82nd Airborne Division is an elite, rapidly deployable infantry division of the U.S. Army. Moving ground forces and command elements into the Middle East while operating under the false assumption of a de-escalation is incredibly dangerous. Betting on a one-sided negotiation leaves the global economy deeply exposed. More importantly, it leaves incoming military personnel completely vulnerable to a sudden coordinated ambush. This situation ends in one of two ways. The first outcome is that a historic, month-long ceasefire is genuinely about to be announced, freezing the conflict and potentially ending the current cycle of escalation. The second outcome is more volatile. The collapse of these ghost negotiations could lead to the existing strikes expanding into a broader regional conflict. Without a diplomatic off-ramp, the military forces currently being deployed would find themselves entering an active combat zone. With the fate of the global economy and thousands of lives hanging in the balance, the core question remains: who is actually telling the truth about these talks? Until the physical reality on the ground matches the rhetoric written on paper, this phantom peace deal is the most dangerous geopolitical trap currently in play.